My ex kicked me out of our van in a state park over something dumb, and now he's demanding I drive back across the country to return his dad's watch that I accidentally took. So yeah, like the title says, my now ex and I were both remote workers and decided that we could van life and see things while still working. We lasted about a month, and last week he flipped out over the way I sipped my coffee and told me I had to leave. I thought he meant like we would pack up and figure out how to get me home. No, he meant I needed to get out with all my crap in the middle of a state park in New Mexico and figure it out. I was scared and pissed, so I hurriedly packed everything and got out. A very nice older couple had heard the screaming and saw me with a pile of my stuff and asked if I needed help. I said yes, and they said they would drive me to Albuquerque in their RV and we could figure out what would happen next. Well, it turns out they are the sweetest people ever, and we eventually came to the conclusion it would be easier for me to travel with them home to Kansas, and now they've allowed me to stay paying them insanely fair rent, food, etc. I just have to edit the wife's book and help the husband with his guitar playing. Well, it turns out in the hurry of packing, I grabbed my ex's watch that was his dad's, so I got in touch with him and told him I was sorry, it was truly an accident and I had no intention of keeping it. How would he like me to get it to him? He said I needed to meet him in Utah. I said that was ridiculous, I could send it to him. He said that it was too valuable to trust to mail or FedEx and needed to be hand-relieved. I said I was in Kansas and not coming to Utah, but I would return the watch to his brother when I go home in March. He said no, the only solution was for me to drive it to him. I said I didn't even have a car. He said you're probably effing half of Lawrence, use one of theirs. At that point I blocked him. The watch is pretty valuable and has a lot of sentimental value, and I will return it. It was my oversight that I have it in the first place. What are my obligations to follow his instructions to get the watch back to him? Edit. Wow, this blew up. For the people asking, it is a lower-end Rolex watch. It still has all the original box and even receipt when his dad bought it, but it was well worn, so he's never been sure how much it's worth. I guess a few hundred, maybe $1,000, so I'm not sure. I'm not going to keep it or destroy it since it's not mine in any way. Relevant comment number 1, you gave reasonable options. Let's say he files a police report that you stole it. You have proof that you contacted him and asked where you could send it. He declined. Relevant comment number 2, dude sounds like a psychopath. Do not under any circumstances willingly meet up with him in person ever again. Don't let him know where you live. This level of douchery is a sign of something being very off, and you don't want to be there again when he short-circuits again. You were extremely lucky to have found the people you did. Who knows where you'd be if that had not happened? Update, 1 week later. Well, so lots of mixed advice, but most people said the best option was to contact his brother. Before I did that, I decided to unblock my ex just to give him one more chance to give me an address where I could ship the watch. Here's the actual text conversation. Me, hey, I'm sorry I blocked you. I just didn't appreciate the insults, but I want to get your dad's watch back. Can you let me know where to send it? I'll pay for shipping, no problem. Like less than 30 seconds later. I stashed the watch in your bag because I wanted to prove to myself what an awful person you are, and good job at proving me right again. I was like, wow, so many people in the original said that he probably put the watch in my stuff as I was packing in order to force communication and force the opportunity to see him again. Well, you were exactly correct. I didn't even respond to his text and blocked him again. I have no intention of keeping the watch, so I decided now it was time to contact his brother, who, along with his wife, has always been very nice to me. He was super appreciative and we spent a couple days going back and forth figuring out the shipping, but the watch arrived to him on Friday and all is good. He even Venmo'd me $1,000 for being so honest, contacting him, etc. I make really good money, so I told him it wasn't necessary at all, but he insisted, so we agreed to donate it to a food pantry here in Lawrence. But I'm still so creeped out thinking back at the day when he kicked me out of the van and he was screaming at me, calling me all sorts of names. And him scheming to stay in touch with me. He was slamming all my stuff into bags, but that was cover for him hiding the watch. The fact that it was so deliberate yet he thought of it so quickly is so scary to me. We got along so well before we left and he always seemed like such a great guy. I don't know if the confined space of the van is too much for any couple or if it brought out a side of him I didn't know was there. Makes me sad and scared at the same time. But also just so relieved it's over. Relevant comments. Commenter number 1, he framed you? To prove to himself that you were awful? He's dumb enough to fall for his own frame job? I really truly can't wrap my head around how stupid he must be. Commenter number 2, what I don't get is his logic that this would prove OP's a bad person. How the hell was she supposed to know about the watch when you kicked her ass out in a state she didn't know about it until after she got to safety, possibly thousands of miles away? Like you thought she was just gonna be running back to you? Screw that dude.